Welcome back! Let's continue on our journey through the Warcraft games. In November of 2004 we took our first steps into the world of Warcraft, so let's see how each faction started out. The Forsaken are led by Sylvanas Windrunner, and they control the Undercity, as well as large portions of the northern eastern kingdoms.
We are the Forsaken. We will slaughter anyone who stands in our way.
The Forsaken have made a lot of enemies. They're currently leading an assault against the neighbouring human settlements. Some religious extremists known as the Scarlet Crusade have taken over a nearby cathedral, and they have vowed to eradicate all undead creatures. Sylvanas seeks vengeance against the Lich King's undead army, and her alchemists are brewing a new plague to eradicate her enemies, be they undead, human, or otherwise. On the other end of the Eastern Kingdoms, Stormwind City is one of the last bastions of human power in the world. However, its forces are spread thin, fighting the Horde on distant shores, and threats are starting to encroach in the border zones. Also, over in Kalimdor, Jaina Proudmoore commands an Alliance outpost in the port city of Theramore. Nearby, the Orcs have recently settled in the barren wastelands of Durotar. They're in the process of taming the lands, clearing out the native populations of Harpies and Krulboars. On their northern border, lumber mills are harvesting the forests of Ashenvale to build this new civilization. The Night Elves resist the Orcs' incursion into their forests. Based in the World Tree of Teldrassil, the Night Elves are working to repair the damage done to their land from the last war. The Tauron are a peaceful race closely linked to nature. In Warcraft 3, the Orcs helped them to drive the Centaurs out of their lands, and now, for the first time ever, the Tauron have a place to call their own.
Your tribe is safe, Old One.
In return, the Tauron will support the Orcs for generations to come.
Our debt to you Orcs can only be repaid with blood.
And of course, the Darkspear Trolls recently settled the Echo Islands off the coast of Durotar, but they were recently betrayed by one of their own, and so have bunked in with the Orcs for the time being. And of course, how can we forget the Gnomes, whose city of Nomuragon has been overrun by Trogs, and they're currently bunking in with the Dwarves of Ironforge. The Dwarves control the lands of Khaz Modan. Meanwhile, the Dark Iron Dwarves to the south pose a considerable threat to the Alliance, but we'll talk about that in a minute. In the previous Warcraft games, the big bad enemy has always been the demons of the Burning Legion. But in World of Warcraft, the story starts to change. We discover that Azeroth is infested with old gods. These old gods are an ancient evil that want to corrupt the world. A long time ago, the old gods enslaved the elements themselves. Recently, the Dark Iron Dwarves tried to summon the Fire Lord Ragnaros. This summoning caused a giant volcano to emerge, creating Blackrock Mountain as we know it today. Thankfully, Ragnaros was stuck in the elemental realm, so he enslaved the Dark Iron Dwarves and was preparing for world domination. And so, we had to go and banish Ragnaros back to the Firelands. But Ragnaros wasn't the only bad guy. The old gods had long ago corrupted Deathwing, the leader of the Black Dragon Flight, along with Deathwing's children, Onyxia and Nefarian. Now let's talk about the King of Stormwind, Varian Wrynn. A peace summit between the Horde and the Alliance was being held at Theramore Isle. So the king jumped on a boat to Theramore Isle, but he never arrived. He was kidnapped, and was being held at Elkaz Island. The Defias Brotherhood turned out to be the kidnappers, and the Black Dragon Onyxia was the mastermind. In the king's absence, Onyxia was in control of Stormwind, in her human form disguised as Lady Presta. We managed to unmask Onyxia, and we hunted her all the way to her lair. While Onyxia had planned to rule the world through guile, her brother, Nefarian, planned to overthrow the world through brute force. In his lair atop Blackrock Spire, Nefarian conducted vile experiments with the blood of other dragons, and he created a new flight of dragons. So off we went to kill Nefarian.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Now some trolls in Stranglethorn Vale were starting to get a bit freaky. They summoned Hakar into our world. Hakar was a god of blood, and basically he wanted to drink the blood of all creatures on Azeroth. Not cool, so we definitely had to go and deal with that. Thousands of years ago, the old god Cthulhu was imprisoned under the temple of Anchorage. A few hundred years ago, a magical wall was erected to hold Cthulhu's army of insects at bay. But in January of 2006, Cthulhu's army started to stir, and it was time to open the gates and slay the old god for good. Thousands of players gathered to witness the opening of the gates, and to lead an assault into the old god's domain. Meanwhile, the Lich King was still kicking about, and he was determined to spread the plague of undeath across Azeroth. He sent the Lich, Kael'Thas, to invade the Eastern Kingdoms in the flying citadel of Naxxramas. Anyway, we ended up defeating the Lich King's forces, of course, and the flying citadel of Naxxramas was returned back to Northrend. In January of 2007, the Burning Crusade was released. In our last video, we spoke about Illidan, the guy who really hates demons, but also has a weird fetish for demonic power. For the past few years, Illidan had been hanging out in Outland. He knew that the Demon Lord Kil'jaeden would be coming for him soon, so he created an army of fell orcs and demon hunters and fortified his temple. In preparation for war, Illidan ordered the Naga to secure the water of Outland. The Naga stored all this water in Coilfang Reservoir, where they kept it under guard. Now we should talk about the actual opening of the Dark Portal. Do you guys remember the Demon Lord Kazak? He had been hanging out on Azeroth for years now, mostly just chilling in the Blasted Lands. Eventually he got his hands on a powerful relic, and he used it to open the Dark Portal for the third time. With this, demons came spewing into Azeroth. The forces of Netherguard Keep were quick to respond, and both the Alliance and the Horde pushed through the portal, taking the fight to the demons and securing control of the portal. In Outland, we found many of those who had become stranded on the other side of the portal way back during Warcraft 2, including our good mate, Archmage Khadgar. Our old buddies had been fighting armies of fell orcs and demons led by Illidan. So, off we went to kill the guy who seemed to be leading all the demons. Now, Illidan didn't really have a problem with us or anything. He was trying to protect his people from Kil'jaeden. So, we probably shouldn't have killed him, but we did, so oops. Anyway, around about this time the Zul'Aman patch dropped, and we basically went and raided some trolls for loot. Yeah, that's basically it. They had treasure and we wanted it. Now how can we talk about the Burning Crusade without talking about Karazhan? You might remember that Medivh was originally responsible for opening the Dark Portal. Well, Medivh used to live in the Tower of Karazhan. Somehow, some of the demons of the Burning Legion had managed to infiltrate the tower. We couldn't let demons get their hands on Medivh's stuff, so we needed to go in and defeat them. There was also a lot of ghosts and enchantments and things we needed to get through. Now let's talk about the Naaru. The Naaru are beings of pure light. They arrived on Outland in these ships, and they vowed to destroy their sworn enemy, the Burning Legion. However, as the Naaru set out to explore Outland, Kael'Thas seized their ships. One of the ships actually managed to escape, and it crash-landed on Azeroth, and that is how the Draenei came to join the Alliance. So, why did Kael'Thas seize these ships? Well, you might remember from our last video that his people, the High Elves, were addicted to magic.
In secret, I began harvesting what energies I could.
Kael'Thas was harvesting magic from Netherstorm, and he was sending mana cells back to his people. Now there was a risk that Kael'Thas could completely destroy what was left of Outland. That wasn't good. Off we went to kill him. And we did kill him, but he was brought back to life by demonic fell magic, and now he was fully under the sway of the Burning Legion. All that magic that he had been harvesting from Netherstorm? Well, the reanimated Kael'Thas took off to the Isle of Quel'Danas, and he wanted to use all of this magic to reawaken the Sunwell. And using the Sunwell, he wanted to summon his new master. That's right, the Demon Lord Kil'jaeden into Azeroth. Now having a Demon Lord on Azeroth would be a really bad thing, so off we went to the Sunwell to stop Kil'jaeden coming through that portal. Then, the Lich King attacked again, this time targeting the capital cities of the Horde and the Alliance. So the Alliance and the Horde formed expeditions, and they set off to Northrend to put a stop to the Lich King for good. The mage city of Dalaran uprooted itself, and flew to Northrend, where it operated as a base of operations against the Lich King's forces. Our first target was to take down the floating citadel of Naxxramas. The Lich, Kael'Thas, had been resurrected, and was leading an army of undead. With Naxxramas defeated, the Horde in the Alliance led an assault against Icecrown Citadel itself, targeting the Wrathgate. The incident at the Wrathgate was one of the most infamous betrayals of World of Warcraft's history. The Forsaken had been brewing a plague in secret that killed both living and undead alike, and they unleashed this new plague on the Wrathgate.
Death to the Scourge! And death to the living!
The commander of the Alliance forces, Bolvar Fordragon, was killed in this plague. However, he was brought back to life by the flames of the Red Dragons. So then there was a bit of a tournament or something so that we could prepare before we went back to try and take on the Lich King again. Whatever. Then off we went through the front doors of Icecrown Citadel to defeat the Lich King. However, with the Lich King defeated, the armies of the Scourge would be uncontrolled and would be running unchecked across the lands.
There must always be a Lich King.
Our old mate Bolvar wasn't having a very good time, so he took one for the team and took his place upon the Frozen Throne. Meanwhile, there was an old Titan facility in the far northern reaches of Northrend, and from within it, an ancient evil started to stir. Another old god had broken free from its prison, had corrupted and enslaved its guardians, and once again threatened the world. After defeating this old god, we encountered Elgalon, whose job was to monitor Azeroth for signs of corruption.
Should my analysis find systemic corruption?
And oh boy did he find corruption. There are traces of old gods all over Azeroth, so Elgalon decided to re-originate the world.
Best interest to re-originate this planet.
Which essentially means destroy all life and start again from scratch. Wiping out all life on Azeroth doesn't really work for us, so we had to defeat him and put a stop to that as well. And with all that done, with the Lich King defeated, it was finally time to leave Northrend. Next time we'll explore some of the most epic story arcs as we explore the Cataclysm, Garrosh, Pandaria, time travel, the Hour of Twilight, the bombing of Theramore, and continue our journey through the Warcraft games. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one.